Well, what I want voters to do, everyone to do, is to see that we have taken the right decisions to grow the economy. I was very open about the fact a year ago I had to put up taxes. I think it was the right thing to protect businesses from going bust during the pandemic, to help families through the energy crisis. But I also said at the time that when I could, I wanted to start bringing taxes down again. And the taxes that I'm bringing down, they're not necessarily the taxes people have heard of, you know, full expensing for businesses or even national insurance, but they are the taxes that will help grow the economy and create better jobs for families up and down the country.
Chancellor, in the OBR forecast, what's the costing for freezing tax thresholds between 23 to 29?
Well, the tax take, you probably got the number in front of you, Beth.
You know it, though.
But the tax take, of course, I know that the taxes go up from freezing thresholds. I'm perfectly aware.
Does it go up by?
Well, you tell me the number, Beth, because you've got it in front of you.
It's 45 billion.
Right. Well...
And what's the NI tax cut worth?
Well, you're trying to tell me that I haven't reduced all the amount that taxes have gone up by. I'm prepared to say it. Hang on, will you let me answer the question? If you're trying to say that it's going to take time to get taxes down to the levels they were, then I agree. But what I said was, when it was responsible to do so, when it wouldn't affect inflation, I would make a start. We've done that today, and we are a party that believes that if we want to grow the economy, then we need to have a lightly taxed economy, and we've made a step, which, by the way, for someone on average earnings, is going to be about £450.
Chancellor,
so it's not insignificant.
So I'm interested, I haven't got much time, I don't mean to be rude, but it sounds like a tax giveaway, but you know and I know the NI cut is worth £9 billion. It's dwarfed by the £45 billion you are taking as people get pulled into higher tax bands because you have frozen thresholds, and by wage rises as well. Overall, have you taxed more or cut taxes more?
We have put taxes up because it was the right thing to do to support families. Hang on, will you let me answer the question, Beth? Because it was the right thing to do to support families and businesses through the pandemic and energy shock. We've never pretended differently, but what we said, and this is the difference, for example, with the Labour Party, we said that when we could afford to do so, provided it didn't hurt the battle against inflation, which is also eroding people's incomes, we would start to bring them down. That's what I've done today, and I think this will make a big difference to many families as a result.
You mentioned it in the first answer. I mean, let's be honest, you're talking about energy spikes, you're talking about, you know, war in Ukraine, but the fact is that you raised taxes by 25 billion in the last autumn statement, 30 billion of spending cuts, that's 55 billion into the Treasury coffers, and that was all about clearing up the Tory disaster of Liz Truss, wasn't it? Cleaning up the mess of the previous administration. It was, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. And I think you, Beth, should be better informed than to peddle those kind of accusations that come from the Labour Party. Interest rates have actually gone up by more in the Eurozone than they have in the UK, and they didn't have Liz Truss in the Eurozone. The reality is that all countries have had an energy shock. After the changes I made a year ago, we saw the long-term cost of debt in the UK fall to the levels it was before we had the mini-budget. We were open. Okay. There was some mistakes. Let me finish. No, let me finish. We were open. There were some mistakes made. We corrected them.
Our taxes
but everyone
going up or
across
down under
the
this
world.
government?
Hang on, let me finish. Everywhere around the world had to deal with a once-in-a-century pandemic.
Are taxes going up or down under this government?
Taxes have gone up, and we're starting to bring them down.
OK, but at the end of this Parliament, taxes will have gone up for the public. Just so voters are clear about when you say you're a low-tax party, that's the reality. Taxes will have gone up.
Well, we haven't got to the end of the Parliament yet, so obviously I can't answer that question. But what I can say is my commitment to voters is that when I had a chance to lighten the tax burden, I'm a Conservative. I believe in doing so. Okay. We made a start. I don't pretend, never pretended we were going to get there in one go. But what we can say is now we've halved inflation, the economy has turned a corner, and we can focus on the long-term growth, raising incomes and salaries for families up and down the country.
Finally then, Chancellor, I'm out of time. Your next opportunity to talk about tax cuts will be in the March budget, the spring budget next year. You presumably want to cut income tax.
Well, what I will do is exactly what I've done this time. If it's responsible to do so, if we can do so without increasing borrowing, then of course, as a Conservative, I would like to bring down the tax burden, but I will only do so in a responsible way and one that doesn't fuel inflation after the great success we've had in halving it.
OK, this Parliament's not over, but can you commit to the public now that the tax burden will be lower at the end of this Parliament than higher? You can't, can you?
I think people are much more interested in what politicians do than what they say. And what people can see from what I've done today is that when I had a chance to bring down the taxes paid by ordinary people responsibly, without affecting the battle against inflation, that's exactly what I did.
NI cut in January, ready for an election in May?
Well, that's a decision for the Prime Minister, Beth, and we've had no discussions on the topic.
But you're ready whenever he wants to call it?
Well, my job is to grow the economy, get the economy in good shape after some huge shocks that us and other countries have faced. And I think the message of this budget is that, don't bet against Britain because our economy has exceeded all expectations. We've got a huge amount going for us and we want to make the most of it.